There we go. My computer is doing some things and stuff in the background. So when I clicked record, it took an awfully long time for it to say, okay, it's recording. Anyways, I think we're good to go now. So today, full body yin yoga, just overall stretch it out. And I really hope you've been enjoying the Zero to Hero challenge. Let me know in the comments how you're doing. It's been so many classes, and I'm used to our live classes where I get to talk to you all the time, and now I don't. So I feel I'm there in spirit with you. And today we'll be doing a really nice, well-deserved full body stretch. It'll feel amazing. So the only thing you'll really need is you might like to have a strap, and as always, like 40,000 blankets is nice to have. Okay, when you're ready, we'll head into Balasana Child's Pose, or whatever your centering posture is that you prefer. So take those first few moments, get all settled in, getting comfy, and just taking those first few breaths. They could be slow, deep breaths, or they can just be soft and quiet. Either way, trying to really soften, especially on the exhales, allowing your hips to sink down towards the feet, feeling heavy into the floor. And taking the next few moments to set an intention for your practice. It's one of my favorite things to do in yoga, those first few moments when I get to think about the benefits of yoga and what is it I'm looking for right now. It might be the same thing that you've had the whole challenge, or it might be something different today. And from here, take a few slow, deep breaths through the nose. We'll get the oxygen flowing to help us get that flexibility going. And once you've got a few deep breaths going, maybe 3 or so, take your time. But when you feel ready, start to head into a downward facing dog. So this is our one and probably only strength posture of the whole class. So making it a little more stretchy than usual. What I like to do is, this actually feels nice, if you want to try this with me. Tuck the toes under, but then instead of going all the way up into down dog, lift the knees up a little bit. It's a nice Achilles stretch. Be really cautious though. You don't want to overstretch in that position, but it's like a nice little, there we go. Like just a nice little, just a little something. And then when you head all the way up, it's just one of those little habits that I always do because it feels so nice. I wanted to share that with you. Maybe walking it out a little bit. And then nice and slow, heading all the way back to seated. And we'll prepare for our first yin posture. Bringing the soles of the feet together and letting the knees fall out to the sides, we'll head into our butterfly pose. Now, if your knees feel like they need some support, feel free using your blankets or whatever you need. Otherwise, I'm just going to cut my little timer. And if you're like, I didn't hear you, Carla, that's okay. Shh, this isn't here. Inhale, lifting up tall. Exhale, melting forward. So by now in the challenge, you should be kind of getting the hang of yin if you were new to it before you started. But it's nice to remind ourselves the three aspects of yin yoga. The first being finding your edge. It might be further today than yesterday or the day before, or it might be not quite as far. Reminding yourself it's where my edge is today, not somebody else's edge, not my edge yesterday. It's finding my edge today and really respecting our own boundaries. I've talked quite a bit in this challenge about not putting too much pressure on ourselves because we tend to do that to ourselves. I don't know why we do that. I guess because we always want to be better, but we think that we should be further along than we are by now. And there's really no need for that. If you're on your mat and you're doing some stretching, you're taking care of yourself. And that's kind of literally the best thing you can do for yourself. Honoring and respecting yourself and finding your edge. Softening and melting. We just came off of, what did we do? Was it 4 of them? Vinyasa style classes. Surprise! So if you're like me, you might be feeling a little bit extra tight and a little bit extra stiff, more so than you were the last yin class. Remember, we're not stepping back when that happens, but that's sort of the ebb and flow of getting stronger and more flexible in a well-balanced practice. When you do strength things, then you'll feel super tight when you stretch. When you do only stretching things for a while, you won't feel as strong. And that's normal. It's good to do a balance of both. We do some strength, we do some stretch. We do some strength, we do some stretch. And then slowly, slowly, slowly start to come all the way up. And then we'll head into straddle. And I like to have my little blankies underneath my legs, or my heels especially. And sometimes there's like a clunk that my hip has to do. And then I'm ready. Okay, here we go. Whenever you're ready, inhale, lifting up tall, and on the exhale, folding forward. So you may even need to sit upright for this one. And if there is room, heading forward. So if our first element of yin yoga is finding our edge, the second element is stillness. And like I've said in the past, that's one of the ones I struggle with the most. I'm a fidgeter. So really trying to find that stillness. Unless, of course, A, you've been here a while and you find, hey, I can go a little bit further. Or B, okay, I went too far. I need to come out slowly a little bit. So stillness unless we need to adjust the pose for comfort. if you do have difficulties with finding that stillness, I find that focusing on the breathing can be really helpful. Uh, we're not necessarily doing ujjayi breathing, if you know what that is, in our yin practice. In our vinyasa style practice, we are we often employ, it's kind of a light version of ujjayi breathing. Even in our strongest vinyasa practice, the breathing shouldn't be super loud. I was sort of taught to make it loud, but the more I started studying with true authentic teachers who learned from Pattabhi Jois and Iyengar straight from India, the more I learned, no, actually the breathing is supposed to be loud enough that you can hear it, but your neighbor shouldn't hear it. Isn't that funny? So it's only been the last few years that I've really realized, okay, the breathing is supposed to be softer. Interesting. Anyways, in yin, sometimes I find myself getting a little bit of that stronger ujjayi style if I'm finding I'm at my edge and not past it, of course, but if my edge feels stronger, then it, sometimes in specific poses, your body shies away from those specific types of poses. So a little bit stronger breathing sometimes you'll find just happens naturally. Otherwise, just slow, soft breathing can help you with the fidgeting. Okay, nice and slow. Come on all the way out. The good thing about if you're tight because you're tight, there's not really much you can do. You just need to put in the work, put in the time on your mat. But when you're tight because you've done a lot of vinyasa style strength work, it doesn't take that long to loosen up, I'm finding. So let's head into shoelaces for this one. We will cross the right leg over top of the left and then tucking that bottom leg in. It's better to get both legs tucked under if at all possible, even if that's up elevating onto a pillow or a blanket or what have you. That way you get the benefit of stretching both legs at the same time. If it's just not accessible, then feel free to keep that bottom leg straight, okay? So if available, nice to do both at the same time because it's just efficiency. It makes both of the legs stretch at one time. Multitasking, one of my favorite things in the world. Once you've found your stretch, closing the eyes. Now remembering our second principle is finding stillness. But if you're finding I'm not feeling a stretch here, you may wish to start to walk the hands forward. Or one thing that I like to do, because why do what everyone else is doing, lean back. It's also a stretch in a different way. So find wherever you want the stretch to be and hold, hold, hold. And slowly, slowly start to come all the way out. Unraveling the legs. And give yourself a second between sides. And then when you're ready, other side. So this time left crosses over the right. And once again, tucking that bottom leg underneath. You need to readjust. Go ahead. And then finding your edge. And then we find stillness. Our third element to yin, of course, is time. The way to get flexible, yin yoga is, there are many ways to get flexible. There's different things you can do with the muscles, whether it's static stretching or dynamic stretching or reciprocal inhibition, using the Golgi tendon organ. There's lots of techniques and tricks and things, but yin yoga, static holds, probably the most beneficial and efficient way to get more flexibility, especially that permanent flexibility, because often you can not really be able to touch your toes when you start a yoga class if it's a vinyasa style, but by the end you can, and then the next day you're like, wait, what? By the end of the class I could touch my toes and now I can't again. So that permanent kind of flexibility, yin is the best at, which is what we're doing now. And really all it is time. So how many minutes have you put in for this stretch, etc. And it's not a matter of, oh, you're so good or you're not very good. It's, oh, you've put in a lot of hours on the mat, I see. That's all it is. And when you really simplify it, I love simplifying life. If you just keep it simple, it's just putting in the time. That's all it is. Showing up, putting in the time. And it's, again, I love yin because it's not that difficult. In fact, it's not supposed to be. If it's too uncomfortable, it's actually going to set you back a little bit. So just a gentle stretch. It's kind of my favorite now. I used to hate it because I didn't sit still very well. But now I'm like, this is amazing. My mom bought me this magnet that's on my fridge, and it says I totally take back all those times I refused to nap as a child. I'll take them now. I'll take that yin now. And slowly, oofda, slowly, slowly, come on out. You ever get that where your legs are just like, no. Reversing course. Yeah, doing those 4 vinyasa classes in a row, that was good stuff. Okay, now the fun part is that next up we have another hip opener, but it's different. So this one is square, or in our hatha class we call it Agni Stambhasana. So that's where we bend the left leg and the right leg goes on top. And if you're not very flexible, that's no problem. Sit back like so. If you have extra mobility, then we start to sit up tall and stack knee over ankle, ankle over knee. Remembering though, this isn't where we like pull them in like cross-legged or like we just did, but they are parallel. Your lower legs are parallel to the top edge of your mat, so we want our feet outward. Here we go. And with this one's kind of cool because it does advance quicker than some of the other poses. And when you find you're ready, you can either move straight forward, start to walk the hands forward, if that feels more of a stretch for you. And if that doesn't stretch enough, you can start to walk your hands over towards the top foot. And eventually this one prepares us for, we have in our hatha yoga class, foot in armpit pose. So you can start to literally try to get your foot towards your armpit. So if my right foot's on top, I'm getting my right armpit into my foot, basically. Only in yoga, right? Softening and melting. And this is where blankets come in handy. You can actually just sort of prop yourself up on them, you know? And slowly, slowly start to come all the way up. Oh, and untie the legs. Give yourself a second between sides. It's funny how in between poses, my whole body just wants to like, kind of go in a star before I tie it back up in a knot again. Speaking of which, let's do that. Square, or Agni Dambasana fire log pose on the second side. Left leg on top of right. And I'll get our timer going. Here we go. And slowly, slowly start to come all the way out. Unfolding the legs and just giving them a moment. From here, heading into our arm stretch pose, where we're on our belly. We've done this one a couple times. I'm gonna get my blanket out. And laying on our tummies. I'll bring right arm through. And I like to put my thumb inside of my fingers and have my thumb pointing upward, just so I know I'm stretching the right spot. Holy smokes. Yeah, we did some, yeah. So yeah, okay, here we go. This is as far as I can go today. Feeling those shoulders. What did we do? Dolphin. We did a lot of dolphin a few days ago. That was a while ago still, but feeling that now. Softening and melting. Holding this one for just a little bit longer than usual, since we have been ramping up our strength postures in our 0 to Hero challenge. Again, if you do need to come out a little bit, feel free, or even take rest. Otherwise, really sinking and melting, finding your edge, keeping your thoughts on your mat, staying present. And slowly, slowly start to come out. Oh, that feels a lot better now than it did when I first started. Let's head directly into the other side. No time to think, just do. So the fingers wrap around the thumb and nice and slow. Remember, this one might be tighter Then when we finished up with the last side, sinking and melting into it. And slowly, slowly come on out. Okay, I really like that stretch. And what we're doing now is very elegantly getting back, squaring everything up and heading into Sphinx pose. So already in the right position, forearms to the ground, and this is it, we're in Sphinx. So this one, unlike our hatha class, this one, we want our arms to be strong, but everything else just, ugh. We want our spine to feel a nice stretch. If you're not feeling a stretch here, straighten through the arms for seal pose. And if you're still not feeling a stretch, feel free to come up a little bit higher. And because this one is an arm strengthener as well, if you need a little break, feel free, but try to move slowly. Holding, even closing the eyes. And slowly, slowly release. Slow, 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 slow. And then heading into child's pose, pressing up and back. Take your time, take your time, take your time. From here, we'll sneak directly into pigeon. So right knee moves forward, and the left leg goes back. Heading into sleeping pigeon whenever you're ready. Last few moments here. See if you can sink and melt just a little bit more. Slowly, slowly, come on up. If you want to go into downward facing dog between sides, feel free. I prefer just to go to hands and knees. So that was my hip. To hands and knees. And then the left knee moves forward. Right leg moves back. Taking all the time you need to get set up. I like to take a long time to get set up. And when you're ready, sleeping pigeon. Slowly, slowly, start to come all the way up. And either a downward dog or just hands and knees, giving your hips a moment, a little side to side maybe. And then it's time to head into twisted roots. So for this one, I like lots of little blankets. I like a blanket under my hips, and I like one under my arms because my floor is cold. And when you're ready, laying all the way onto your backs. Bending the knees, right leg crosses all the way over left. And send your hips to the right as the knees move to the left, keeping the right shoulder onto the floor. And soften and melt into it. And to come out, scoop the belly in, press the low back into the floor, and just take a moment to square yourself all the way up. And when you're ready, hug both knees into your chest. Just taking a moment here between sides. And then we'll prepare for the left. So left crossing all the way over right. Hips shift to the left as the knees shift to the right. And even closing the eyes. And scooping the belly in. Press the low back into the floor. Take a moment to unravel and unwind. There's no need to hurry here. The back likes to move nice and slow. When you're ready, hugging your knees in and taking a moment here. Letting your spine return to neutral. And we're ready for Shavasana. So just heading directly into Shavasana, unless you need to bend the knees in place, a blanket beneath them, whatever you need to feel supported today for your Shavasana. Otherwise, extending the arms and the legs, and closing the eyes, softening everything from the crown of the head all the way down to the tips of the toes. Allowing the whole body to feel heavy into the floor. And just let the floor support you. Softening especially through the neck and the shoulders. And all the way down the arms. Letting the fingers softly curl. Softening through the face. Softening around the eyes. And even the muscle between the eyes. Just letting it all go. And starting to come back. Wiggle the fingers and the toes. And gently roll your head from side to side. Then reaching your arms above head on the floor, give yourself a big stretch, feeling totally refreshed. And bending your knees one at a time. And gently roll over to the right side, pausing there for a moment as you come back. And slowly start to press yourself all the way up to a comfortable seated position, taking all the time you need. And when you arrive, palms facing up on the knees. Inhale, sitting up tall, and exhale, softly close the eyes. Taking a moment to come back to your intention that you set at the beginning of class today. Knowing you're one step closer, acknowledging the work that you put in today towards your goals. And slowly open the eyes. Namaste, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you next time. Have a really good rest of your day.